Today, we're going to do an overview of the CES process in HMIS. The main focus of this training will be on reviewing the HMIS functionalities of the CES process. So in our agenda today, we'll first talk briefly about what CES is, and then we'll review the components or the roles in CES. And then after this, the bulk of our training will be in reviewing the CES workflow in HMIS from the perspective of each role: the access point, the matchmaker, and the housing agency. So before we get started, if you have any general questions during the training, please enter them in the chat box. My colleagues will be answering the questions in the chat. We'll send you a list of the questions and answers that we cover here, and also any answers to questions that we need to investigate further. If you have any questions specific to your agency, I would strongly encourage you to submit a ticket to the help desk so we can properly assist you. So I am making some assumptions here, and that is I'm assuming you have some basic knowledge of the HMIS system, such as how to add client profiles, and are somewhat familiar with the screens. And finally, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and enter your name and agency into the chat box. So let's get started. The Coordinated Entry System, also referred to as CES, is a method of matching housing opportunities to the most vulnerable homeless population in the community. The goal of this system is to rapidly end their homelessness. There are two types of CES support for the community: individual CES, or ICES for single people and youth, and family CES, also called FCES for families. ICES and FCES are supported by two different lead agencies: the County of Orange for ICES and the Family Solutions Collaborative for FCES. There are three main roles or components that work together in the intake, assessment, and referral of the population experiencing a housing crisis: access points, matchmakers, and housing agencies. Our goal as a community is to house these families by working together collaboratively using these roles. The first role is the access point, which are the agencies that connect the clients to the coordinated entry system. They also provide additional services to clients, such as case management. The second role is the matchmaker. You know what? And I'm going to put that down. Who match clients to available housing opportunities. Matchmakers are the CES lead agencies, which I just mentioned: the Family Solutions Collaborative for families and the County of Orange for individuals. And finally, the third role is the housing agencies, which offer housing opportunities and receive referrals to house clients through their projects. HMIS then is used to provide information to each role in order to make the best decisions for your clients and to get them housed in the fastest way possible. Excuse me. So we're going to go through these roles in more detail using our fake family, the Bundys. We have the father, Ed, the mother, Peg, and the children, Bud and Kelly Bundy. Using HMIS, we'll cover the process for each role: the access point, the matchmaker, and the housing opportunity. So let's suppose the family lost their home during the pandemic, and our goal as a community is to get them housed through CES. We'll start with the access point role. We'll be using the Married with Children agency for our access point example, which will connect the clients to CES and send them to the community queue. So let's suppose Ed, who is our head of household of the Bundy family, he reaches out to the Married with Children agency for assistance. And let's also suppose you're a case manager with a Married with Children agency and access point that works only with families. Your goal as the case manager is to assess how vulnerable the Bundy family is and refer them to the community queue. The first step is to search for clients. After you're logged into HMIS, search for the clients to verify that they all exist in the system. Always start this process with the head of household, Mr. Bundy in our case, and then search for the rest of the members. If they don't exist, you must create a client profile for each member of the family. So I'm not going to go into client profile creation here, and that's covered in a different training we offer, HMIS Part 2. So after confirming the client profiles exist, do the second step, which is switch to the lead agency that covers families, the Family Solutions Collaborative. I will also add that you must receive approval by both these lead agencies to access them in HMIS. This is done through the HMIS account and testing form submitted on your behalf by your agency administrator. So back to our procedure. You're switching to the lead agency for families. To do that, go to the upper right corner of the main search screen in HMIS. And this is a screen you see right after you log in. Now notice that the name of your agency is currently under this name. To change the lead agency, click the drop-down button next to the name, next to your agency, and select the appropriate lead agency for your client. So after confirming they exist, let's continue going. Since we know the clients have profiles created in HMIS, they need to be reviewed to ensure that they're accurate and contain current information. So the process should be done for all members of the household, not just the head of household. The next step is to add the contact information. Open the head of household profile in HMIS, then navigate to the Contact tab and click the Add Contact button. You're asked to specify the contact type. In HMIS, we have 3 contact types. There's the client contact, which contains information about the client. There's the emergency contact, which is information of the person who would be contacted in the event of emergency. And lastly, there's the case manager contact, which is the information of the client's case manager, which is in this example is you. So we're going to create a client contact entry. So choose the client from the drop-down and enter the client's email, phone number, and where they were when this information was added. You can add any note related to that contact. So for instance, if Mr. Bundy can only receive phone calls in the evening, you'd add that. Click Save Changes at the bottom of the screen. And please note it's very important to verify that the contact information is accurate, like the phone numbers aren't transposed, or something like that. And it's up to date, because being able to contact your client is crucial to them being placed in housing. So our next step is to enroll the household in the Coordinated Entry System project. Because we're enrolling the whole family, return to Mr. Bundy's client profile screen because he's head of household. Navigate to the Programs tab, which is here. Under Available Programs, click on the Family Coordinated Entry project you see next to the screen arrow. So this enrolls information about the project. At the bottom, notice the list of household members. Move the toggles next to each name to enroll the whole household. Oh, let me go back. Okay, so you click Enroll. I wanted to make sure you saw this, but after you move the toggles, click Enroll to start the enrollment process. All right, so this is the enrollment screen. Answer all the enrollment questions. This is no different than any other program enrollment in HMIS. Respond to the questions and scroll down to complete that form. The only difference here is that as we scroll down for the CES enrollment, you must provide additional information specific to CES process, such as which access point is serving the client and what's the service planning area or spa in which these clients are being served. In this example, you would select Married with Children Agency in the access point dropdown and select your spa, which in this case, we've selected the North Spa. To finalize the enrollment, verify that all the household members were enrolled, not just the head of household. Remember, you did that by moving the toggles next to each name before you clicked Enroll. It's important to remember that if you're working with families, you need to enroll every member of the household. And also remember to verify that you have assigned correctly the head of household and that all family members have the proper relationship to the head of household assigned correctly as well. Now that the entire family has been enrolled in the CES project, the next step as the case manager is to collect required CES documentation. In HMIS, go to the head of household client profile and click on the Files tab. Oops, looks like I'm off on that, where you are prompted to upload the required files. Click the coordinated entry documentation from the category dropdown and select the type of document to load from the predefined list. All placements require homeless verification. Additional documents should be uploaded based on your project type. For example, chronically homeless verification is required for permanent supportive housing project types. After you've chosen the type of file you want to upload, click on the Upload File button to select the file from your computer. Once a file uploads, click on Save Changes. And one important thing to consider is that when uploading documents, make sure that the file that's being uploaded matches the document type that you selected. In the HMIS world, data quality is key. So what you input for your client can drastically affect the ability for them to be matched. And that includes accuracy in your data. Otherwise, this is considered an error in the system, and it'll create program problems with reporting and with matching your clients properly. So once you've collected the required documentation, the next step is to complete the VI-SPDAT assessment. This assessment determines how vulnerable this household is, as well as determines the type of housing that would be most appropriate for them. To complete the VI-SPDAT, navigate to the Assessments tab, highlighted by that orange arrow or the orange box. And under the CES enrollment of the head of household for our Mr. Bundy, locate the appropriate assessment for the client and then click the Start button. Since you're working with the family, select the VI-SPDAT for family assessment indicated by that green arrow. You'll notice that the VI-SPDAT for individuals is available here as well, or if you're assessing a veteran, complete the Veteran Coordinated Entry Assessment. So in the assessment screen, answer all the VI-SPDAT questions. Enter the assessment date, which is the day that you're collecting the information, the assessment location, which is the city where the VI-SPDAT is conducted, the assessment type, which is the method in which you're completing the assessment, which can either be in person or by phone or virtually. And finally, the assessment level, which should always be housing needs assessment. To continue to answer all the questions, including the housing type, and here at the very end, click on Save. After completing the VI-SPDAT for Mr. Bundy, the Bundy household is considered to be assessed. The system will process the answers and provide a score summary, which includes the total VI-SPDAT score, as well as scores for each subsection of this assessment. So the next step then is to send the clients to the community queue. To do this, select the coordinated entry toggle here and click the Refer Directly to the Community Queue button. On the next screen, you're given the option to write a note to the referral agency. These notes may include information on the housing preference or the housing needs of the client. So at this point, the Bundy household is considered document ready, has been added to the community queue, and is waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity. And so you can click Send Referral. As a side note, if for some reason you need to edit the VI-SPDAT before being referred to the community queue, go to the Assessments tab under CES Enrollment in the Head of Household profile. Scroll all the way down to the assessment history. Locate the VI-SPDAT that you just completed. Click the Edit button next to the name of the assessment. From here, you can also send the client to the community queue by clicking the Eligibility button. Once you click that eligibility button, you'll be taken to the screen where you can see the score summary and refer the client to the community queue, just like we saw on the previous slide. While the household is on the community queue waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity, the case manager should keep the client active on the community queue. So this is really important because after 90 days of inactivity, the Clarity system automatically removes the client from the queue. It's your responsibility as a case manager to keep this from happening. To keep the client active on the queue, you have a few options. You can update the client's current living situation. You can keep the client active by clicking on the check-in button in the referral. You can add a note to the referral, or you can add a CES event. So the first method, using the current living situation assessment. So this is typically completed at the time of first contact. However, creating a new assessment will initiate an event to reset the tracking timer that counts the number of days of contact with the client, which keeps a client on the community queue. So to do this, go to the Coordinated Entry Project in the Assessments tab. Click Start to begin the assessment. Respond to the questions and then click Save and Next to complete assessments for each member of the household. Okay, so that's option number one. The most common method to keep the client active on the queue is by using the check-in button. So the premise behind this check-in button is that as case manager, you should be checking in with your clients to verify that they're still interested in housing placements through CES. And in order to track these interactions, use that check-in button. So to do this, go to Head of Household History page, locate the referral, and open the referral by clicking this edit icon next to it. So this will open the Edit Referral screen. And from there, locate the Last Activity field and click the Check-in button. Once you click this button, the timer tracking the number of days between check-ins will be reset. A third option to keep the client on or household on the community queue is to add notes. As case manager, not only do you need to monitor the last activity to determine when the check-in is needed for the household, but you also need to add additional notes regarding the housing needs. This is a very similar process to the notes you add when you send the client to the community queue. So to enter a note, navigate to the Notes section of the Edit Referral screen, write a note, and click Send Note. This will also restart the countdown clock. And finally, the last way to keep a client or household on the community queue is to add a CE event, which is any activity within HMIS done using the client profile, including adding a program enrollment or enrolling in a service or such event. They are tracked as services under the CES project enrollment. CES events capture key referrals and placements and the results of those referrals and placements. So for the sake of brevity, I'll not go through this exercise. You can review this process in the HMIS Part 2 training. The last thing we need to cover is how to remove clients from the community queue when they no longer need to be served through CES. It's the responsibility of the access point case manager to remove the client from the queue. This may happen, for instance, if the client finds a housing opportunity on their own, or if the whereabouts of the client are unknown. So in HMIS, to remove a client from the queue, open the client record and navigate to the referral screen on the menu bar. Enter the reason the client is being removed from the queue. In some cases, you need to answer some follow-up questions depending on the reason of removal. So for example, if Mr. Bundy found housing on his own and he's going to stay at a family member's house or a friend's house, you would click self-resolved in the reasons for removal field and then select that the client is living with friends and family. And also specify the date that the client is being removed from the queue, and then just click Save Changes. So that concludes the access point role in HMIS. So we're going to do a quick recap because there were a lot of steps. So as case manager for the Bundy household, you located and reviewed the client profile in HMIS. You enrolled all the members of the household in the Family CES project. You collected the required CES documentation and completed the family VI-SPDAT from Mr. Bundy, who is head of the household. You referred Mr. Bundy to the community queue, and finally, you ensured that the client was active on the queue. You may also provide services to the household when they're enrolled. So at this point, Mr. Bundy and the Bundy family are assessed, document ready, and on the community queue, ready to be matched. So we're ready to move on to the Matchmaker process. As I mentioned previously, the Matchmakers in the Coordinated Entry System is a family solutions collaborative for families and the County of Orange for individuals. Matchmakers connect your clients to the housing opportunities that housing agencies have by reviewing these two lists, the list of clients that are on the community queue and the list of housing opportunities, with the goal of ensuring that the most vulnerable clients are referred first. The actual matching decision process happens outside of HMIS. So by that I mean that the system doesn't decide automatically which client should be matched to which opportunity based on some algorithm. That's decided in a weekly meeting by agency staff with detailed knowledge of each client. So what HMIS does, though, is provides the matchmaker with the means by which to match housing opportunities to clients. This includes providing information on the client that they need to make the matching decision, the vehicle to assign that housing, and the reports needed for HUD and the broader community. So they consider things like appropriate date of homelessness started, days since the referral was added to the queue, the assessment score, and other such fields. So I'll summarize the steps that the matchmaker would have to follow. We are not going to go in depth in this process. We do have other resources available, but since most of you are case managers or housing agencies, we'll just do a summary of these matchmakers. So it starts at the Referrals tab. The Referrals tab opens up the location where the matchmaker reviews the households in the community queue and available housing opportunity by way of reports and that the matchmaker receives. So the matchmaker would also review the client's referral in HMIS that the access point created and matches the client and household to a housing opportunity in a housing project in HMIS. So using the Bundy household, the matchmaker will select the Community Queue tab at the top here, and then navigate to the Coordinated Entry System. They select the active agency, which is the Springfield agency, and then a project within the agency, which is the Springfield Rapid Rehousing Project. And then the mode, which is a prioritization assessment, either the VI-SPDAT or the Veteran Coordinated Entry. The sort by field over here automatically defaults to assessment score. Then they hit search to reveal a list that will include all clients eligible for the project, sorted by the assessment score. To match the client, the matchmaker would select the edit icon next to the client. The matchmaker would also review Mr. Bundy's referral in HMIS that the access point created. And then the matchmaker would match Mr. Bundy's household to a housing opportunity in the Springfield Agency housing project. Mr. Bundy and the entire Bundy household have been referred to a housing opportunity and will no longer appear on the community queue. They are almost housed, but not quite. So that was a very fast summary of their process, I realize, and obviously there's a lot more to it, but we'll suffice to keep it at that summary. So let's recap. So the matchmaker reviewed the households in the community queue report and the available housing opportunities report. They reviewed Mr. Bundy's referral in HMIS. They matched Mr. Bundy to a housing opportunity in the Springfield Rapid Rehousing Project in HMIS. So Mr. Bundy has been referred to a housing opportunity. So finally, we're going to review the process of the housing agencies in HMIS. Housing agencies offer housing opportunities and receive referrals to house those clients that are eligible in their projects. But in order to have an opportunity to match, the housing agency must first put in opportunities. With the Bundy household, let's suppose you're a staff member at the Springfield agency, which is a housing agency that only works with families. This agency happens to have an open opportunity to house a family in the Rapid Rehousing Project. You'd add this opportunity in order to receive the referral to house any family in the community queue. In HMIS, the first step after logging in is to navigate to the Referral tab up in the top, and then click on the Availability tab. Here you have the option to specify if the housing opportunity is for bed reservation or for CES. So in this case, select the Coordinated Entry System here. So this will display a list of all projects for which you can add housing opportunities. Since you want to add a housing opportunity to the Rapid Rehousing Project, locate this project on the list and then select Limited Availability. Once selected, this unrolls two options. You can add a single opportunity or multiple opportunities at the same time. So click the type of housing opportunity you have available. In this example, we're going to click on the Add Single Opportunity because only one unit is available for just one family. So once you click on the Add Single Opening button, the Add an Opening button window appears. Add the opening and any notes related to that opening. In this example, the unit is on a second floor. So there's a note specifying that this unit is upstairs. Any note regarding that specific opportunity could be entered here. You can also specify if the opening is for families, for individuals, or for both, depending on the type of availability you're entering. So in this example, the unit is just for families. So you'd simply select the toggle for Family CES, and then you can specify the size of the household that can occupy this unit. So we've selected 4. And then you would enter that number here and then select Save Changes. If you need to edit a housing opportunity after you've created it, simply go up to the Availability tab, locate the project that has this opportunity, and then select the caret, which is this little guy, to the right of the available options of that project to see a list of opportunities that you had previously created. So in this example, you just see 1 because only 1 was created. Then select the edit icon next to the opportunity to view the window where you can edit the information. You can change the date that you entered, that you created the opportunity, or edit the number of clients of this unit, or add any extra information to that note. So when you're finished, click Save Changes. Okay, so recall that the Family Matchmaker matched the Bundy household with the Rapid Rehousing Project, which was the one you just created. Once that referral occurs in HMIS, an email is sent notifying you that you've a pending referral in the Springfield Housing Project. CES agency administrators and all housing agencies will receive these notifications. This email is a confirmation that Mr. Bundy has been referred to the Rapid Rehousing Project and is prompting you to review that referral. Within the email is a link to jump you directly to the referral in HMIS. Another way to review the referral is by going to the Pending tab of the referral page at the top right corner of the main search screen in HMIS. So from here to here. In the Pending tab, you can see all clients that have a pending referral in your agency. And here is Mr. Bundy's referral to the Rapid Rehousing Project. If there were more clients pending, you'd see that list of clients. So to review the referral, simply click on the Edit icon next to the name. This will open the referral screen, which is the same screen that would open if you clicked that link that we saw in the email notification. In this screen, review the referral to make sure that the client is indeed available for your project. At this point, you should contact Mr. Bundy to confirm that he's still interested in being housed in the Rapid Rehousing Project. Again, a reminder why having the contact information is crucial, because you need to be able to contact the client easily. In reviewing this process, change the status of the referral from pending to pending in process. The difference is that pending is when you have not referred the referral, and pending in process is when you are in the process of reviewing the referral. After changing the pending status, you can also assign a case manager to Mr. Bundy. Click the check-in button to make sure that Mr. Bundy stays in the queue just in case. So this is the same check-in button that we talked about earlier when we were reviewing the access point role. After you make these changes, just click on Save Changes at the bottom of the screen. You can also see any notes that the access point user and the matchmaker have entered regarding Mr. Bundy's referral. So at the bottom of the screen, you see the whole referral history and see that Mr. Bundy was sent to the community queue, by the access point user and that the family matchmaker referred them to your agency. So suppose that Mr. Bundy is eligible and still interested in being housed in your housing project. The next step for the housing agency is to enroll the Bundys in the rapid rehousing housing project they were referred to by the matchmaker. To do this, navigate to Mr. Bundy's program tab at the top and locate the project under the Programs Available section. At this point, you can see that Mr. Bundy has a pending referral for this project. You can see this by the green arrow. To continue this process, move the toggle next to Program Placement, a result of referral, in order to link the project enrollment with the referral. So this is really important, or this enrollment won't be connected with the referral and it would be an error in the system. Also, make sure that you select all the members of the household here as a group. After selecting this toggle and selecting all the members, click on Enroll. Answer all the enrollment questions for all the household members as usual. One thing that's important here is that the project start date of the enrollment in the housing project should match the date that the household was accepted in the project. After all the clients have been enrolled in the project they were referred to, the referral is considered to be complete. And this will be reflected in the Completed tab of the Referrals page. So remember, before the enrollment, Mr. Bundy was in the Pending tab over here. And now, since you've enrolled the household in the referred project, he now appears in the Completed tab because he's been referred. And one thing here is that you had not, if you hadn't linked the referral with the rapid rehousing enrollment using the toggle button, you would not see Mr. Bundy in the Completed tab, and the referral wouldn't be considered complete. It would still be considered to be pending in process because clients were not enrolled in the project, or they were enrolled in a project, but the project enrollment is not connected with the referral. So that's why it's very important to link the referral with the project involved. Remember, what determines the completion of the referral is the enrollment in the referral project. So the final step as a housing agency user is to exit the Bundys from the Family CES project. The family remains enrolled in the CES project until they have been placed in the unit. But once they're housed, it's your responsibility as a housing agency to exit the clients from the CES environment because they no longer need to be there. To exit the clients from the CES enrollment, switch your agency from the Springfield agency to your lead agency. And for us, that's Family Solutions Collaborative. Switch the agencies right here as we have in the past. And next, navigate to Mr. Bundy's program page and click the edit icon next to the Family CES enrollment. Then navigate to and click on the Exit tab, which is over to the right. Make sure, and then make sure that you select all members of the family and then click End Program. Once in the exit screen, answer all the project exit questions as usual, but one thing that's super important is that the project exit date of the enrollment in this orange box should match the housing date that you entered, which is the date the household moved into the housing unit. Likewise, the destination should match the type of housing in which the clients were enrolled. So for instance, since you enrolled Mr. Bundy in a rapid rehousing project, the destination would be rental by client with RRH housing or equivalent subsidy. If you want to take a look at the history of the referral, go to the History page under the client's profile and click on the edit icon next to the referral. This will open the Edit Referral screen. And at the bottom of that screen, you can see that first, the household was added to the queue by the access point user. Then the family matchmaker referred the household to the Springfield Rapid Rehousing Project. And then finally, the housing agency reviewed the referral, accepted it, and enrolled the client in the project to which they were referred, which in this example was the Rapid Rehousing Project. So the History tab shows all the steps that each role had followed in order to house this family. But what happens if the client is not eligible for your project or is no longer interested in being housed through your project? So that referral would need to be denied. And so let's say Mr. Bundy is not eligible for your project because he's not currently homeless. So to deny this referral, open up the referral screen and change status equals denied and send the client back to the community queue if they're eligible for the community queue and they can be housed by another agency. So you'd select yes or select no if the client no longer needs to be housed through CES. In the denied by type field, specify if the referral has been denied either by the client or by the provider, and in this case would be you. And the denied reason would be lack of eligibility. And you can also enter a note with more information about that denial on the denial information screen. So say the client's not eligible in the project because he's not currently homeless anymore. And you click Save Changes. So it's important to notice here that the housing agencies have the ability to send the clients back to the community queue right when they're denying their referral. They just need to select yes to send to the community queue. And this is an important point because even if you cannot house that client, you still want to make sure that they have the opportunity of being housed elsewhere. After the client's referral is denied, the client will be on the Deny tab that we find up here, and on the Community Queue tab as well. So this is just an example of a denied client. So I use a different client, but you see Moira Rose would be on the Deny tab and also on the Community Queue tab if you had selected no. That's how a referral is denied and placed back on the queue to be housed by other providers. So we're going to review one last thing, the referrals page, because this is where the CES process lives, as all referrals are managed and reviewed from this page. So to start, let's do a quick overview of each tab. The Pending tab, far left, displays clients who have been matched to a housing opportunity at an agency. The Community Queue tab displays the clients that are currently on the queue waiting to be matched to a housing opportunity. So it's important to notice here that this tab is only managed and reviewed by the matchmakers. The Completed tab, and we're skipping over analysis, the Completed tab displays the list of clients that were matched through the CES referral and have accepted the housing opportunity and were enrolled in the housing project at an agency. That's where we saw Mr. Bundy after you completed and enrolled him in the Rapid Rehousing Project. Okay, the Denied tab displays clients that were matched to a housing opportunity at the agency but were ultimately denied by the household or by the agency. And finally, the Availability tab is where we create housing opportunities. And that's it for the housing agency. So a quick recap is you added the housing opportunity, which was the rapid rehousing project. You received a referral from the matchmaker to house Mr. Bundy and his household in the rapid rehousing housing project. Whoops. And you referred that referral and checked the client eligibility and confirmed that Mr. Bundy is still interested in being housed in the project. Finally, you exited the whole family from this family CES project after they were placed. And that concludes our training. I know there's a lot of information, but we hope that this training served to clarify any steps and encourage you to learn more. Our website contains a comprehensive list of knowledge base articles such as CES flowcharts and step-by-step instructions, and also available are past trainings, which include the recordings and PowerPoint slides, and the HMIS CES training on our training site. I will be sending a link to all training materials as well as these slides and the recording of this webinar in a follow-up email. I'll also send you a link for our survey to tell us how we did. We really appreciate your feedback to help us improve our training. So if you have any general questions, please leave them in the chat box and my colleagues will continue to answer them. And we really appreciate your time here today. Thank you so much for joining us.